What is rave culture? To some, it is a dangerous movement of young people gathering to celebrate sinful lifestyles. To others, it is simply a way to let off some steam and have fun with other people. How can Christians view rave culture in an objective way, and does rave culture belong on a Christian campus? All this and more on today's episode of This Christian Life.
Electronic dance music, or EDM, has been rising in popularity for decades. As its influence on mainstream music continues to grow, more and more teens and young adults are beginning to identify with rave culture, or the styles, actions, and ideas associated with raves or EDM concerts and festivals. Chad Veal, a student at a small Christian university, is one of them.
I'm Chad Veal. I'm a junior at Taylor University from Indianapolis, Indiana, and I've been to probably around 20 plus electronic shows and festivals.
In the past, rave culture has been criticized for its glorification of substance abuse, promiscuity, and violence. But is this really what rave culture represents?
I don't think rave culture inherently is bad or dangerous. I think the idea of coming together and just jumping around and maybe throwing some elbows and pushes in a mosh pit, it's all in good fun, and listening to loud music and just having some fun release from the day. I don't think that's bad.
We also asked Will VanDerNoord, another student at Taylor University, whether he views rave culture as good or bad.
My name is Will VanDerNoord. I am a sophomore attending Taylor University. I have been listening to chill EDM for the past several years. That is normally my go-to genre. I do not believe that rave culture is inherently bad or dangerous. It depends on how people use it.
Like many other small Christian schools, Taylor University prohibits social dances and similar events. A notable exception to this rule is Techno Night, an annual public rave in one of the dorms. This year, however, Techno Night was unexpectedly cut short by campus police, leading some to wonder whether Techno Night should be allowed to continue.
So Techno Night, the famous Second West Wingate's open house, got shut down this year. 2 people passed out, both of which have kind of a history of passing out. When the cop came and he asked for it to be shut down, and Second West complied with that request and shut it down an hour early. How it plays out in the future isn't known yet.
At first glance, having 2 people lose consciousness would seem to paint a clear picture of the dangerous nature of raves. However, the 2 girls who passed out at Techno Night were not under the influence of any mind-altering substances or victims of a violent outburst. These cases were simply due to unrelated, pre-existing medical conditions.
And I think there's a lot of rumors about what all happened. I heard seizures and 10 people passed out, but in reality, it was 2 people who passed out in unrelated cases to the environment. Techno Nights happened for 9 years and no one's passed out ever since. And this was actually one that had the most water available and one of the cooler nights that we've had it on. So it was basically a series of unfortunate events of people with previous health issues all coming together at once to make it in an hour early.
Another negative aspect people often focus on is the existence of genres like trance, which are designed to be enjoyed while under the influence of illegal psychoactive drugs. Although this is often a valid criticism, it does not have to impact EDM as a whole.
I've been to a trance show once, and it's kind of slow. Didn't really know what to do. And I can definitely see the interest of being doped up while you're listening to that. I mean, the people don't come up on stage and say, start, popping this and that. And the situation isn't promoted or trying to be stopped. It's just kind of ignored.
With all this obvious sin going on at raves, is it possible that there is any place for God at the festivals, parties, and concerts where hundreds partake in flagrant immorality?
I think with something like this, it's not so much about the Christian's conscience. I think people get very distorted views on actually how to live out their faith. So I think it's more the better question, which is the one people don't like to hear, is violating what Jesus thinks or their religion.
I don't believe that rave culture is against God necessarily. Again, it is up to how people portray it, what people are doing at raves, so on and so forth. I believe that rave culture can be positive, but I cannot say for certain if it can glorify God or not.
I definitely think a song can be glorifying to God without being worship songs, especially if you look at some classical stuff like Beethoven and stuff. That's obviously very beautiful artwork and doesn't have any Christian words in it.
So, keeping all this in mind, should Christians be wary of rave culture, and could it have a place on a Christian campus?
I think if you struggle with things, or if you're from a very conservative home church or family that will look down upon it, by all means don't go. But I think if you can make smart decisions while you're there, I say if you're into that type of thing, then go for it and try to be a light.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Christian Life. Tune into our weekly podcast, Mondays at 1.